Good day, friends. You're welcome. Today we are going to discuss taxonomy. Question is, what is taxonomy and what is the importance of taxonomy? Is taxonomy the same thing as classification? Do we confuse these terms? Now let's ask ourselves, what is taxonomy? Taxonomy refers to the process of classifying, identifying, and grouping of organisms. So the whole science that involves identifying an organism, classifying the organism, grouping the organism, all this together is what we refer to as taxonomy. And this is important to know. Now, after taxonomy, we'll talk about classification. What is classification? Classification actually is the grouping of organisms based on different characteristics which the organisms have. Some of these characteristics can be morphological, that has to do with their shape and form. Some of it can just be in their physical features, things that can be seen. Some can be based on the DNA or RNA composition of these organisms. But what's important to note is that classification has to do with grouping organisms on the basis of particular characteristics that these organisms share help us to be able to group these organisms. Now, Carlos Linnaeus is one of the earliest taxonomists. He was the one that designed a method where he tried to classify different organisms. At the beginning, he classified organisms on the basis of plants, animals, and minerals. After some period of time, minerals was jettisoned and was no more part of the classification. So we left it to just plants and animals. Now in 1735, Carlos Linnaeus, he wrote a book. It was an 11-page booklet, a pamphlet called System Naturae, where he wrote about classifying different organisms based on different structures and features that these organisms had. So, like I said earlier, he had already divided organisms into plants, animals, and minerals. Now, Carlos Linnaeus was also the one who designed the hierarchical system of classifying organisms. We've discussed this in a lot of our earlier videos, the hierarchical system that starts with kingdom, phylum, class, order, genera, and family, genera, and species. So remember, I gave an acronym then when I said King, Pharaoh, classes, orders from General Shegu. So kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. This hierarchical system that is even in use even up till today. Now, important in taxonomy, there's something called phylogenetic trees. What are phylogenetic trees? These are trees of life. They are trees that show evolutionary relationship. They show degree of relatedness that exists between one organism and another. The trees can be growing. If you check online, you see different kinds of phylogenetic trees for microorganisms, for even animals, for plants. And these trees help to show the degree of relatedness between one organism and another. There are many different criteria that are used to produce these phylogenetic trees. Many different kinds of analysis, really complex analysis are used to produce phylogenetic trees. And some of these analyses have to do with genetic analysis, analyzing the genetic component or compound or within an organism, biochemical analysis, protein analysis, embryologic analysis. All these different analyses are done before these trees are produced. And these trees try to show the relationship, the relatedness between organisms from one organism to another. Now, Robert Whittaker, in the field of taxonomy, also designed the five kingdom method of classification, where he classified organisms into Monera, Protista, fungi, plants, and animals. It's important to note that viruses are nowhere to be found in the classification of living organisms because viruses are what we call acellular entities, and so they are not living things. They do not have a place in the classification of living things. It's important to know that modern taxonomy today, you remember I said taxonomy has to do with identification, classification, grouping, all those things we do together. Now, modern classification uses DNA and RNA majorly to group organisms into family, into order, and into all the different classes where we put organisms into. Now, it's also important to note in taxonomy that Carl Woese, who was an American biologist, was the one who was able to identify for the presence of archaea. He discovered the archaea, he and his team, and they were able to identify the presence of archaea. This is important to know. Scientists now also use what we call a binomial system of nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature or binomial system of nomenclature. Binomial means two. So this is good to know that scientists use, in order to name organisms, give them a name based on the name of their genus and their species. So you have Escherichia coli, two names. Escherichia is the general name, genus name, and coli is the species name. So that is the way organisms are named in science. Whatever organism it is has two names based on the binomial method of nomenclature. Now, it's also important to know that microbiologists have two manuals that have been written and are updated regularly, where the names of a lot of microorganisms are put. And in those manuals, we have what we call the Beggy's Manual of Determinate Bacteriology and Beggy's Manual of Systemic Bacteriology. These are two manuals that are updated regularly, and they contain the names and the characteristics of different organisms. Thank you for listening to this our discourse on taxonomy, and remember to like and share our content. Do have a wonderful day.